Hey everybody, this is Andre here with the Kevin Breeze channel, and in this video, we're going to be doing a comparison between the Samsung Galaxy A72 and the OnePlus 9. Let's get started. So the Samsung Galaxy A72 has a 6.7-inch 90Hz Super AMOLED display with a resolution of 1080p, a PPI of 394, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of 84.4%. The OnePlus 9 has a 6.55-inch 120Hz AMOLED display with a resolution of 1080p, a PPI of 402, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of 87.6%. Both of these phones have hole-punch front-facing cameras. The Samsung Galaxy A72 has 32 megapixels, and the camera for the OnePlus 9 has 16 megapixels. So these displays are really similar. They both have the same resolution. The difference here is, on one hand, the A72 has a noticeably larger display, but the OnePlus 9 has a higher refresh rate, so the movements on the screen are going to be faster and smoother than on the A72. So if you're doing stuff like video streaming or high performance gaming, where the movements on the screen really matter, then the OnePlus 9 is going to have an advantage with the 120Hz display. But with the Samsung Galaxy A72, it is going to have a larger display. So if you have to see details, if you're doing something like photo editing or reading, this is going to come in handy. Now the Samsung Galaxy A72 gets 128 gigabytes of internal storage, and the OnePlus 9 gets 256 gigabytes of internal storage, although there is a lower variant that gets 128. Both of these phones have microSD card expansion, so the OnePlus 9 in this situation does have the advantage with double the storage of the Samsung Galaxy A72. That being said, 128 gigabytes is not a small amount of storage either. It's going to be plenty for everyday use. But if you're doing something like gaming, where you have a lot of games that take up a lot of space, or shooting videos, that's another thing, that takes up a lot of space, then the OnePlus 9 with all that extra storage might make more sense. The Samsung Galaxy A72 doesn't have wireless charging, but the OnePlus 9 does. It supports 15-watt wireless charging, so keep that in mind if that's a feature that's important to you. Both of these phones have fingerprint scanners on the display and face unlock, which is really good to have both options. We're going to test out these fingerprint scanners and see how they actually perform. We're going to start with the A72. There we go. That was pretty fast. One more time. And now onto the OnePlus 9. One more time. So the OnePlus 9 definitely has a much faster fingerprint scanner than the Samsung Galaxy A72. The Samsung Galaxy A72 wasn't really bad, but there was definitely a little bit of stalling there, whereas with the OnePlus 9, it unlocked almost instantly, just as fast as an external fingerprint scanner, which is typically faster than an in-display fingerprint scanner. So I would give this advantage to the OnePlus 9. I don't necessarily think this is really a deciding factor type of difference, but it is a difference nonetheless. Now taking a look at this rear camera setup, for the A72, we have a 64 megapixel rear camera, a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera, an 8 megapixel telephoto lens, and a 5 megapixel macro camera. This phone can shoot up to 4K in both the rear and front cameras. The OnePlus 9 has a 48 megapixel rear camera, a 50 megapixel ultra-wide camera, and a 2 megapixel monochrome camera. And this phone can shoot in 8K at 30 frames per second in the rear camera and 1080p in the front. So both phones have similar camera features. I would say the OnePlus 9, being one of the top of the line flagship phones, is going to have slightly better quality in the overall images, but the Samsung Galaxy A72 does have a telephoto lens, whereas the OnePlus 9 doesn't. So if that feature is important to you, definitely keep that in mind. In addition to that, the OnePlus 9 can shoot in a higher resolution in the rear camera. So if you're shooting a lot of videos and want them to be the highest quality you can get them, then the OnePlus 9 might make more sense for you. But even if you do shoot lots of videos and you just don't really particularly care about the quality as much, then the Samsung Galaxy A72 is probably going to be enough for you, because 4K is of course not bad at all, and the Samsung Galaxy A72 shoots great videos and pictures as well. Internally, the Samsung Galaxy A72 is getting 8 gigabytes of RAM with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 720G processor. We ran a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on this phone, and it came back with a single core score of 553 and a multi-core score of 1657. So not bad, but not particularly impressive either. This specific variant of the OnePlus 9 is getting 12 gigabytes of RAM with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 processor. Now, if you do get the lower variant of this phone, it'll only be getting 8 gigabytes of RAM. We ran a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on this phone as well, came back with a single core score of 1128 and a multi-core score of 3627. So definitely a huge difference here. If you're doing more basic activities in moderate stuff like photo editing and light gaming, the Samsung Galaxy A72 should be perfectly fine. But if you're doing anything higher end, like high performance gaming or video editing, especially with larger files, then the OnePlus 9 is for sure gonna be a better option. To give you an idea of what this performance looks like in real life, I'm going to do a demonstration starting by opening Google Chrome. So as you can see there, the OnePlus 9 did open that up a little bit faster. We're going to try a web page and see how this difference compares. So as you can see there, once again, the OnePlus 9 is a little bit faster. Now keep in mind that these differences really don't show themselves that much typically in a basic activity like web browsing. So the fact that the difference is still pretty clear, even in an activity like that, just shows how much faster the OnePlus 9 really is compared to the Samsung Galaxy A72. So if you are doing more basic activities, then the Samsung Galaxy A72 should be fine. But if you're doing more high performance things that are demanding and taxing on the processor, then the OnePlus 9 is going to be a better option. Now, as far as the battery goes, the A72 is going to have a little bit of an advantage with a 5,000 milliamp hour battery versus a 4,500 milliamp hour battery. Now, is this a huge difference? Not really. But if you want the biggest battery possible, then it's still going to matter just a little bit. In addition to that, the OnePlus 9, of course, has all the flagship features you can imagine, NFC, dust and water resistance, that kind of thing. But the A72 actually has NFC and dust and water resistance as well, so it is a little bit more even in that department too. Now, in conclusion, which one of these phones is better? I would say that overall, the OnePlus 9 is going to be a better device. It has a higher refresh rate on the display, which is going to give you a better experience when it comes to things that involve motion, like video streaming and gaming. It also has double the storage of the Samsung Galaxy A72. It has wireless charging, a much better fingerprint scanner, a higher quality camera, especially with the ultra-wide, and a much faster processor. Now, that being said, the A72 does have a couple advantages. If you really want a telephoto lens, then the Samsung Galaxy A72 does have one, and the OnePlus 9 doesn't. If you want the biggest battery, then again, the Samsung Galaxy A72 does have a bigger battery. It also has a lot of the features like NFC and dust and water resistance that flagship phones normally have. In addition to that, if you're really just not going to be using a lot of processing power, if you're doing more basic things, like just taking photos, shooting videos at 4K or below, and doing web browsing and social media and all that, the Samsung Galaxy A72 not only costs a lot less than the OnePlus 9, but is pretty much going to be all you need. But if you need the top of the line processor, the best quality camera possible, and as much storage as you can get, then the OnePlus 9 is going to be a solid option. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one.